Did you know Super Awesome Mix has an app? Go to the Apple App Store today and download Super Awesome Mix. It's free. You could start creating and sending your own digital mixtapes in just a few clicks. Also, there's links to our Instagram account and a link where you can follow your favorite podcast. Speaking of which, welcome back to another Super Awesome Mix. My name is Matt Sidholm, alongside my co-host and co-founder of Super Awesome Mix, Samer Abu Salbi. Samer, how we doing this week?
Real good. I am very excited for actually the very strange occurrence of having the World Cup in wintertime, but I always love the World Cup, so I'm excited that it's here.
Yeah, and actually, from a timing standpoint, kind of works out because I feel like people are home maybe a little bit more in the winter. And so
Right.
maybe that'll, drive up ratings, get people watching a little bit more. Of course, it's set there in the Middle East. And so because of the hot temperatures, they decided to push it back and have it later in the year. And it inspired our mix for this week.
It did, yes. So one of the, if you are a fan of cheering on U.S. soccer, number one, congratulations for being one of the 7 people that cheer on U.S. soccer.
Hey, come on. Come on.
I mean, women's team was standing. The women's team is freaking awesome. They're so much fun to watch.
Multiple
but,
time World Cup champion women's team, but we're talking about the men's team here.
Right.
We'll do this again. We will do this again. Here's a promise. We will do this mix again for the Women's World Cup in 23. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Well, it's happening. But yeah, so this is for men's soccer. And, regardless of what you think about it, one of the most fun things to do is to go watch a game in like a pub or in a crowded square or something. And of course, chant USA, USA. And it's just so fun and it's really addicting. And so that is what inspired our mix today, where each of us picked a grouping of 3 songs that begin with the letters U, S, and A.
Yeah, and all of them, I think, may or may not be directly related to the USA soccer team, but we just thought it would be a fun way to put a mix together. So again, we're going to do it 3 songs at a time. So I'm going to introduce each of the first 3 songs because they will spell out USA, and these were Samer's picks. So let's get into it. Your first pick starts with a U. It is Us by Regina Spektor.
Yes. So this goes in that category of songs where I spent my entire lifetime once I, listening to it, thinking it was one thing and then reading the lyrics and realizing it was completely something different. And I blame the movie 500 Days of Summer for that because that's what introduced me to this song. Because I believe it opens up that film, and that film, of course, is about just a tragic love story, ultimately about just a bad relationship of an avoidant and someone who's anxious if you're into relationship theory. But anyway, I always thought it was a love song, and it sounds like it could be a love song. I think, her voice works really well for it. There's some lyrics in there that, you could just zero in on and think, oh yeah, this is a love song. They made a statue of us, and people would come and watch or whatever. But then you realize that she's actually just talking about the USSR. Her and her family left Moscow, I think, when she was 9. And, her first album is literally called Soviet Kitsch. And the statue of us she's referencing how, during the USSR and during communist regimes, they made statues of all these people like Stalin and Lenin and everyone, and they put them up on the mountaintops or the hills or wherever. And so that's literally what she's singing about. And this whole time I just thought it was a cute little love song. So there you go. Either way, it's a great song. I love Regina Spektor. And even though it's not a love song, I'm going to continue to pretend that it is.
I had that same experience. I had never heard the song before, and I was like, God, this is such a beautiful song, the piano in it, and then her voice, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I'm like, oh, wait, it's about nothing that I thought it was about. What is happening here?
Right.
But, I think it works for this mix because, due to the efforts of Sylvester Stallone and Rocky IV, the United States defeated the USSR. So, I think it's appropriate to kick off a mix where we're chanting USA, right?
Exactly. Right. I was just about to say that I basically just picked three pairings of three songs that I like. just I'm not sure that I I put much more thought into it, but you know what? I like that. Let's go with that. And also it's called Us, and like it's a team effort and let's represent the US this year.
Yeah,
The
that's
good
right.
parts of our country at least. Let's focus on the
The
good
good
parts.
parts. Still plenty of good parts. Still plenty of good
There are.
parts. Yep. All right, your second pick that may or may not be related to USA. It starts with an S. It's "Summer Girl" by Haim.
Yeah, maybe this would have been more appropriate if the World Cup was, in the summer, right? This is, but
And if we were talking
here I
about the
am.
women's team, but that's not important. Okay,
Right. I'm
just
going to
keep
earmark
going.
this for that mix. That one's coming back. Yeah, so I love Haim. Obviously, this is a band, we just recently mentioned how like every now and then we'll rediscover a band and then use a lot of their music. Haim has certainly been one of those groups. They've made a lot of appearances as of late in season two. Absolutely adore this song. I think it's so light, so like positive. One of the few songs about summer that I really love, because if you're a longtime listener, like summer is my least favorite of the season. I'm trying to give it some redeeming factors. There certainly are some, but in general, I don't like it. But I love this song, and I think it's like a good summer anthem. So, and Danielle wrote the song actually about her partner and also the band's producer. Unfortunately, whenever he was going through a dark period because he just gotten a cancer diagnosis. And so she wanted to literally write like a song about how to stay light and stay positive and how she would be there for him. And I think it's really beautiful. And so maybe if I'm going to draw this back now after the fact to the mix, like let's stand behind the team, like we've got this. We're there with you. And so for, all the fans chanting USA, hopefully that gets all the way over to the Middle East and cheers on the team to go further than the first round. Here's hoping.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, it's a supportive song, so we should use it to support a team. I love it. But you're right about Haim. We've featured them a lot in season two. I mentioned how they've kind of they've worked their way into my regular rotation, right? Like in season two, Haim and Macklemore are the two groups that I heard enough of their songs to where I was like, that's it. They're in the rotation, right? So I definitely was familiar with this song. So great pick. And I think we did a good job relating it to the World Cup. Now, this next one, I'll be interested to see how you pull this one off. It starts with an A. It is A Punk by Vampire Weekend.
I'm going to be interested to see how I pull this one off, too. I'm scrambling. I'll be honest, the original intent is just that I was like, well, I love Haim and I love Regina Spektor. What other band do I love? And so I went with Vampire Weekend and I picked a song that started with A by them. But I will say, okay, I think I can do this. I like this challenge. So why A-Punk? I think it's like the peak Vampire Weekend song because it has such interesting instruments. I can't understand a word that he's saying. I have never known the words to this song, and even like listening to him sing it and then reading it side by side, I'm still like, there's no way you're singing these words. Like, but I love that. I love that song, like this song for that reason, because it's just like, it is, again, it's a peak Vampire Weekend song. The lyrics are very like interesting and different. And this actually opened up the movie Step Brothers, which was like a really big deal for the band and they later said they were super grateful for that because it introduced a lot of people to Vampire Weekend because that was obviously a very successful, large, like pop film, if you will. And let's see how I can bring this back. I just like to, maybe it's like, let's celebrate music in the country. I'm going to stop. I got nothing. I just really like this song.
Well, you tried, huh? A for effort, right? A for effort and A for this song. This was a song, it's funny. I think this could be its own mix, but I was like, once the song started, I was like, oh, yeah, of course I know this song. But by title alone, I was like, oh, okay, new Vampire Weekend song I'm not familiar with. But I was like, oh, right, here we go. So I think I don't know if you have that experience. Maybe it's just me, but there's a ton of songs where I know the song, but I don't know the exact title of it.
Yes, there definitely is. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, this got like I think a lot of playtime, and it's a very short song, so it's kind of radio friendly in that regard. It's like just under 2 minutes, I think, or just over 2 minutes. All right. So let's get to your first pairing. And so, of course, we start with the letter U again. And your first pick is Use Me by Bill Withers.
All right, so we love Bill Withers. If you've listened to the show before, every time we talk about him, we sing his praises. This is such a cool song, right?
Yeah,
I think as it relates to, the U.S. soccer team, right? Like, hey, use us to support you, to lift you up, right? And I mean, if it feels that good being used, just keep on using us, right? Like, that's what I'm
I
saying.
like it.
Yeah. So had to include some Bill Withers here. I mean, of course. I mean, one of the better You songs out there, I would say.
Yes. I love that. I love the pick. What's funny is like this could also be a category of songs. Like this could be a mix where the internet is kind of spread, or split rather on is this a song about drug use or is it just a song about relationships? And I don't know. Like I think the internet always thinks that every song is about drugs. But this one is certainly like there's a lot of comments about how he's talking about using drugs and like the drug uses him up and has like that dark meaning. But I think it's about a relationship personally. But who am I to know? We'll have to
I've
check in
always
with
thought,
Bill
yeah,
later in afterlife or something to see what he meant.
I've always thought it was about a relationship, but yeah, the internet and high school English teachers probably related it to drug use in some way, shape, or form.
Right,
That's what
exactly.
I suspect.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Amazing Bill Withers song. It's hard to find one that I don't absolutely love. That bass line throughout the entire track is just so good. It's fabulous. All right, let's go to your S pick. So you went with State Fair by Jack Harlow.
Yeah, so my son's favorite song this past summer was Industry Baby by Lil Nas X and
Nice.
Jack Harlow. The
You got a
edited
cool
version.
kid
All
there.
right.
Right.
Yeah. But so we listened to that on repeat. So I was like, all right, let me listen to what else Jack Harlow's got. And came across this song, which is a really cool song. First of all, what's more American than a good state fair? Okay. So, of course, it had to be on a USA mix. I thought that was
Sure.
really appropriate. And it's a really great song. And he's kind of just talking about how, he's so famous now, he can't just go out and do whatever he wants, right? And he
Right.
wishes he was just back in Kentucky at his state fair. He was kind of missing the quote unquote normal life he used to have. So, great song. And I think it represents our country well, the state fair.
It does, yeah. And it also celebrates like fame and becoming really, like someone that people follow everywhere, which is also super American, I think. Like we celebrate celebrity here a whole
Yeah, way
lot.
too much.
So
Way too much. Yes.
way too much. And there are certainly some celebrities who we wish would just go back to, maybe being a little less in the limelight, and not not opening their mouth all the time. But you know what? That's for another time. This is a great pick, though. Good song. All right. Your A of USA is a very American song, and of course, it is "American Girl" by Tom Petty.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there in the title, right? America's right there in the title. This is such an awesome song. Can you name, now, Sammer, this was the little trivia question I wanted to ask you on the show. Do you know what movie used this song? What movie this is featured in?
I do not know.
Okay, would you believe Silence of the Lambs?
No, I would not. I think I watched that one time and I do not remember the song being in that. That was not the takeaway from watching Silence of the Lambs.
Well, that's weird. You're weird for not immediately thinking of Silence of the Lambs when you hear this song.
Sure. Yep. You're right. I am.
No, but when the senator's daughter, I think, is the one playing this in her car right before she is kidnapped and captured by Buffalo Bill. So
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
and and it's noticeable in the movie just because it's such a tense movie, and then you get this great rock and roll song that's like really spirited and all this other stuff right in the midst of it. So I think that's why it always stood out to me in that movie. But
That makes sense.
just a fantastic song. I mean, again, Tom Petty's one of those artists we should probably feature more of. But this might be I don't want to say it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite Tom Petty songs. It's just a great song.
It really is. I mean, it was on I had like a wake up playlist were like songs that I would start my day with to kind of get me going, and this was number one on that mix because it's just like a great song to start your day with. It has great energy. I think the lyrics might be sad, but I'm just not going to even delve into them because you can't take away this song from me. I won't let you win lyrics.
You don't want to be sad. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. I like it. All right. Now, here's your second group of songs that spell out USA, and I think you definitely picked that up. Okay, I love this pick that you went with here. You start with Umbrella by Rihanna and Jay-Z.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, an amazing song. One of the all-time greatest lip sync battles. Like if you remember, whenever they would do lip sync battles, I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt does just an incredible job with this lip sync battle. And so be sure to check that out on YouTube. So fun if you haven't seen it before. But it's a great song, and she wrote this, really kind of thinking about like having someone in your life and being their umbrella, and like their protection and their comfort and all the things that like we could kind of think of whenever we think of an umbrella and what it does for us. Thank you, umbrellas, by the way, for keeping us dry in the rain. Underappreciated.
And yes, we are being paid by Big Umbrella to say that, okay?
Yes. This episode brought to you by Big Umbrella, exactly. So it's it's a beautiful song. It's such a great track all these years later. And I would, tie this to the World Cup mix because similar to something you said earlier, it's like we've got you. We've got you covered. And as fans, like we're going to be cheering you on and doing our best to make sure that everyone stays safe, has a great time, and can take it, all the way. Again, please just pass round one. Let's get out of round one. I'll be happy.
Let's just get to the elimination round, right? We'd love that.
Exactly.
But you definitely won't need an actual umbrella because they're playing in the desert.
No, I mean, you might need a sun umbrella, like maybe.
A sun umbrella. That's a great point. You'll need a sun umbrella, but not an actual umbrella to protect you from like rain or snow.
Correct.
And any sort of precipitation. That's not going to happen. Yeah. But great pick here. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those songs, you've talked about this before on the show where, just by the song title, you kind of find yourself singing the song title when you say it. Mm-hmm. Like you can't say umbrella in the same way ever again after listening to this song.
Right, exactly. Like you always want to spell out the Ella.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so addicting. Yep.
All right, your S pick here, and I love this pick. You went with "Shake Your Tail Feather" by Nelly, P. Diddy, and Murphy Lee.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'll just start off again. This is all off the cuff on how I'm tying this to the U.S. playing in the World Cup. I can't think of like just a more American thing than the movie franchise Bad Boys, other than maybe Fast and Furious, like where it's just like an insane premise for films, and there's just so much gratuitous like violence and explosions, and like I don't know, things explode that should never normally explode. You've got houses exploding, you've got like roads exploding. I mean, there's just so much explosions, and so I mentioned that because of course this is from the Bad Boys 2 soundtrack. And I loved the song because, I don't know, I went through like a Nelly phase at some point. And what made me laugh about this one always, or I guess made me stress and made me laugh later, is because it opens up with like the police, like whoop siren sound.
Yeah.
And because I was maybe, I will not confirm this, maybe not the best and safest of drivers when I was younger and driving around on Texas highways. Anytime this would come on like a shuffle play scenario, I honestly would have a small heart attack because I thought that I was being pulled over, and then I would realize, oh, right. Because this was before like the car would tell you what song it's about to play, like if you had like it on a CD or
sure.
Like,
yeah.
If you had like an MP3 player plugged into the mic jack or something, fancy like that, like you had no idea what was coming up. And so all of a sudden you'd hear that and I would get so freaked out. But yeah, great song. Lots of fun memories.
That's amazing. That is amazing. That's what comes to mind. Totally agree with you on the Bad Boys movies. And even if you don't like those movies, they produce like 3 amazing soundtracks. Because the soundtrack to Bad Boys 1 and even the most recent Bad Boys for Life, I mean, all have, they're very listenable, all take away like great tracks from there. So yeah, really good call. pulling this out of the Bad Boys 2 soundtrack. Great song.
Nice.
All right, your
Thank
last
you.
pick and your A pick for this trio, you went with "Above the Clouds" by Gangstar and Inspectah Deck.
Yeah, Gangstar in this song in particular was introduced to me, I think, by the show Entourage, which again is also just like, now that I think about it all these years later, such an American like boys show. You know, I
No
just feel
doubt.
like it was like the Sex in the City, but for dudes, basically. Like for yeah. Anyway, and at the very least, it introduced me to some great music because I think like the closing credits had usually really good picks, such as this one, and I love this album. I went and like just became obsessed with Gangstar and with Guru and Inspectah Deck and like and the the producer of this song in particular, like it samples a song called Two Piece Flower by John Dankworth, which I couldn't find on Spotify, but you can find it on YouTube. If you listen to that song and then you listen to this one and you see how he like heard that song and then tweaked it to become kind of the underlying like musical beat to this one, it is genius. I think it's Primo is who I'm talking about, unbelievably like talented to be able to again hear one song and then I guess in your mind like understand how you can manipulate that and then just produce this really really great track on top of it. So that's like one of the reasons why I picked this song. Again, not really, I don't know how I'm going to relate this one to the US team, but thankfully it's my last pick now. I don't have to stress anymore. The next three are yours.
That's true. Yeah, you're off the hook, right? Well,
off the
above the
hook.
clouds, you could say, I mean, there won't be a cloud in the sky probably
True.
during the World Cup, right? So I don't know, maybe something related to that. But
Yeah,
I want to go
perhaps.
back to what you said about Entourage being the Sex in the City of, like, for men. I think that's such a good description because you could just imagine someone being, because women back then be like, oh my gosh, she's such a Samantha. And then, guys at the same time be like, oh my, he's such a turtle, right? Like you
Right,
could just refer to the
exactly.
same thing. Yeah. So I think that works as a parallel. Nice work there.
Thank you. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
Awesome. All right. I think Entourage is now a problematic show looking back, but everything is a problematic everything right now.
Everything
It's
is
like,
problematic. We'll get to that.
Everything
That'll
is.
be a mix one day. It'll be called Everything is Problematic.
Truly.
Just be one controversial song that was once popular after another. Yeah.
No shortage of that. All Kanye mix, I think, is what that's going to end up being. All right. Your last three picks. All right. Some really good ones here. Very interesting ones. So you went with, for your Uptown Girl by Billy Joel.
Yeah, I love Billy Joel. I love this song. It's got a really weird music video where they're like mechanics, right? And working on stuff. And then Christy Brinkley comes by. Billy Joel was married to Christy Brinkley. And for people out there, maybe our younger audience who's like, yeah, well, who's that? Go ahead and Google those two people and tell me how those two got married at some point, right?
Right.
It makes no sense, but maybe speaks to the rewards for hard work, right? So for our
Sure.
men's national team out there, you guys stick with it. And hey, anything's possible, right? If Billy Joel could marry Christy Brinkley, then you guys can get to the semifinals this year. Okay, I really believe
like
that.
I love that. Anything is possible. So this is a song obviously I'm very familiar with. It's played a lot, and I've never really sat down and listened to like the whole thing start to finish because I feel like I've only ever heard it in like 30 to 60-second clips for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's like there's movies like that, right? Like we've never actually sat
Yes.
down and watched a certain movie start to finish, but you know the whole movie. Anyway, there's a line in here that I just think is so funny, and I kind of want to bring it back as like a burn on someone. But he sings, "Uptown Girl, she's been living in her white bread world," and I just love that. Like that's such a specific burn on someone. Like, you live in such a white bread world. That's amazing.
That is a great point. I never thought about that. But yeah, that is kind of a burn. Like you're just living. Yeah. I mean, what's more plain than white bread, right?
Right, exactly. Like I don't know if that's how he intended it, but that's how I read that. Is just like, yeah, it's kind of a burn on someone. Like, calling someone vanilla, for example, like calling you white bread. It's kind of rough. All right. Although, okay, honestly, I love white bread. Delicious. I'll eat it all day long. If I could sustain myself on just white bread alone, I would. I really would.
Well, it's sometimes hard to find now. Now you go to the breakfast place and they got the multi-grain bread or the wheat bread only. Like, yeah, you got to go down here in Texas. You go to the barbecue place, they give you like half a loaf of just white bread
Right.
to just eat your barbecue with.
I was about to say white bread has become problematic, so it makes sense that in Texas there's no problem in getting white bread.
No comment. Next song, please. Okay, let's move on.
All right. Track 11. A pick that surprised me. I was like, this is a really cool pick, and it seems unusual for normally what you go for.
Wait a minute. Hold on. It's a really cool pick. It surprised you. Go ahead and tell the people what it is.
It is Supermodel by Maneskin.
Yeah, so this mix, of course, USA was the theme, and it's inspired by the World Cup. And I figured I'd go with an Italian rock band because Italy's won 4 of these World Cups, right? So if it's not going to be USA, maybe put your money on Italy, okay? Because they've done this a few times. So I mean, it fits into the USA mix, but honestly, it's there because of the international connection. Had to include one international band here.
I mean, it's good not to put all your eggs in one basket, right? So
right. Right.
Yeah.
It's called hedging in the betting world.
I really like that.
Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I love that. No, I mean, it's a cool. Of course, you pick cool songs, Matt. Don't worry. It's just there's like a theme, let's say, with the music you normally pick, and this one falls a little bit outside of the standard deviation of that. So
okay. Why don't you stop talking for a minute? Okay. Yeah.
It was so fun to listen to. It's a great song. I also love "Begging" by the same group.
Yes. Yeah. No, they've got a really cool sound.
That one is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah, very, very, very good. Awesome. All right. Well, let's take us to the last track, the A of your USA, and it is American Girls, plural now, this time by Counting Crows and Sheryl Crow.
Yeah. First, I love this because I got to include American Girl and then American Girls. And then on top of that, this song includes Sheryl Crow and Counting Crows. So I got 2 like singular plural pairings all at once. Okay. So how about that?
Well done.
But seriously, I love this song. There's so many great Counting Crows songs. This is off of like a later album for them called Hard Candy. And I feel like after their first couple of albums, they kind of like didn't get any radio play for a long time. And so I definitely want to call out some of their later work that's still just fantastic. And hey, just like earlier, I mean, I ended my trio with a song that starts with the word American. I figured it was appropriate to finish the whole mix off with another one called, that starts with American.
Yeah, no, I think that works really well. Funny enough, this is again another song where it seems that he might be singing about heroin. I think that he might be singing about heroin. And this one I think I'm more convinced on because there's lines here like holding a candle up to my hand, making me feel incredible. Other lines here, she took almost everything from me. I'm going through my closets, trying on her clothes every day. I could have been anyone you see. I wish it was anyone but me. There's nothing but pills and ashes under my skin. So, like possibly I might be in the drug camp on this song.
Let's just say he's going through something, right? Like not everything is super positive in his life. I think we can say that. That's for certain. Yeah. But I think we've talked about before how everything relates back to drugs in some way if you read on the internet.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like drugs or sex and that's it. That's every single song. Like if you are in doubt about what the singer is thinking about, just pick one of those 2. You're likely to be right. Again, according to the internet, of course. But yeah, good pick. I absolutely also really got a kick out of it being Counting Crows and Sheryl Crow. I have to imagine they had fun doing that, right? Like someone must have brought that up to them when this was happening. Or maybe that's even how the pairing occurred. Someone was like,
I
you know what
mean,
would be awesome?
they can't not know.
We
I
paired
would hate
these
to
two.
like meet Sheryl Crow
Right.
someday and bring that up, and for her to be like, "Oh yeah, I never thought about that." Like that would be really disappointing if that was her reaction.
Well, hey, Cheryl, if you're listening, let us know if you knew about this or not.
Yeah, let us know if you actually realized that connection when this pairing was made, or if we're pointing it out for the first time. So that's what we want to know.
Yep.
But there you have it, another super awesome mix for your collection. This time it spells out USA for you to cheer on the U.S. men's national team in the World Cup this winter, strangely enough. And like we said, we're going to promise we'll do this again next summer. I think it's next summer is the Women's World Cup, and we'll definitely do that for our defending champion women's national team for sure. But in the meantime, Sammer and I have plenty of other mixes to work on. So for Sammer, this is Matt, and we'll see you next time. Super Awesome Mix is brought to you by DLM. Make shopping easy with DLM, the one-stop shop for all your casual clothing needs. Shop dlmsupplyco.com and enter the promo code AWESOME at checkout to save 15% off your first purchase. That's dlmsupplyco.com.